And we were treated to an amazing game today. USA just refused to go away. We don't expect them to go away. Every time I turn on a game, I expect it to be a good game, and they really delivered today. It fell just short, but anything could have happened in that game today.
Oh man, it was incredible watching downstairs in the hotel bar area. It felt like that game ebbed and flowed beautifully. It never felt like we were out of it. And I thought the boys put in a really good fight today.
Absolutely tremendous fight. The difference, you look at the score sheet, just look at the way that the game went if you watch the game. But in the score sheet, you can see the difference was really like Quentin de Kock with that fast start. There was a point after 10 overs where they were well underway, South Africa, to 200 plus. It looked like maybe even 220 was in the cards. They were 100, I think 110 for or 104 for one after 10 overs. And at that moment, I thought, okay, this is do or die right here. USA's going to have to strike. In the next 5 overs, the USA did pull it back a little bit. And I think it just goes to show these guys have guts. They're not going to go into their shell. And then in the second innings, when we saw Housey and we saw Harmeet in the middle, the Seattle Thunderbolts duo right there from minor league cricket.
Yeah.
We've seen them before. The great thing about this game was the throughout the course of the game, there was like the story. Yeah, I really wish that we could have done like a live commentary of the game because you could really tell a lot of the story of American cricket about minor league and major league cricket through the course of this game. You could tell so
Mhm.
many great stories because so many of these players in South Africa play in major league, and
Yeah.
so many of the USA players are from South Africa. There's that, and then also it's great to see how familiar some of these guys are with each other now because they've played together for 3 years in minor league. They played together in so many different tournaments. They know each other well. They bat well together. And that at the end there with Harmeet and Housey in the middle, I love the fact that pretty much our two most courageous batters were right in the middle right there, or two of our most courageous batters. These guys were not going to go down without a fight. You knew you were going to get a fight from them. You knew they were going to go down swinging. I said on Twitter when Harmeet got out, take a bow, Harmeet. You've got massive balls, and he really does.
No, he came in at a situation where the game was pretty much over. It felt that way, at least. You could see the people around me felt that way, and everyone was dispersing. And Harmeet comes in and just does what he does best and keeps the game alive. He did it with the ball too. Those back-to-back wickets of DeCock and David Miller. He took his Seattle Walker teammate. You mentioned the Major League connection. He took his Seattle Walker teammate in Quinn DeCock. So with a great catch by Cheyenne Jahangir, I felt that they were really courageous. There was some courageous stuff that happened in that game. I think Harmeet's overs were fantastic. I let him with the bat. I think if he doesn't get out in that 19th over, if that goes for six instead of being caught, we could be having a whole another type of podcast right now. Andres Kels promoted to the opening spot with Monank Patel not there. I thought that's where he should be batting the whole time, and he came really good. He was at what? How many times has he done this, Nate? Where he's at and around 100, and then we'll finish at 130 to 140. That's just a real just Kels innings. I
Yeah.
thought that Sara struck well. He was bowling phenomenally early, struck at the end too. He was great. That to give up 6 overs, 6 runs in the 19th over, that's stuff of dreams. So I
Yeah.
thought there were some really good performances all the way around when we really needed those things. It just felt like we couldn't get those performances consistently enough. I felt that there was too big of gaps between those real prize performances that we had.
Yeah, you're right. It's been great to watch this entire World Cup because every game somebody at different has put up their hand. In some games, every single player on the team has done something memorable. That Pakistan game, literally everybody in the team contributed in one way or another to
Yeah.
that win. You love to see that. You love to see a team where somebody else. So many people have asked me, "Who's the guy to watch in this game for USA?" It's so hard to pick it out. It's so hard to pick it out. There's so many people who can make a difference in every single game. Now, in this particular game, it was pretty evident to me that South Africa was targeting certain bowlers, or I should say more so they were avoiding certain bowlers. They were respecting certain bowlers more than others, and they were just when Quentin de Kock is on his day, when he cares, when Quentin de Kock cares, he's ridiculous. He's an unbelievable talent, and I think Housey showed today that once again he showed if it wasn't for a generational talent like QDK in that South Africa team, I think Hosi would be the keeper for South Africa by now. We wouldn't even had a chance to get him. He's that good. He's incredibly good. I think if you look at the top 10 international teams in the world in T20 cricket, I think at least five or six of them would love to have him in the team as a starting wicketkeeper. I don't even think that's even an exaggeration. That's how good he is. We saw it today, 80 from 47, 170 strike rate to be sure. But let's start with the first innings a little bit. And as you mentioned before, and Sorab started with the ball, was very economical, 3 runs for the first over. South Africa was cautious, starting cautious. The second over continued the same way. After 11 balls, they had 7 runs. Yeah, it was a nice start for USA. But that last ball of the second over, Ali Khan got crunched. Basically, I feel like some occasionally today, Ali was a little bit too short when he was trying to go just back a length or at good length. I feel like he was just a little bit too short. And a couple times when he actually purposely bowled a shorter, slower ball, the South Africa batters were just too good at waiting on the ball and picking it out and smashing it. We had that 10 runs then after two because of that six. Actually, sorry, 13 after two because of that six on the final ball of the second by Hendricks. That looked like okay, we're gonna see some offense here from South Africa. They had been stifled the entire tournament. I think their biggest innings was somewhere around 120 for the entire innings. So they definitely wanted to get off to a start today. Then Saurabh comes back in, gets Hendricks the sky one. That little bit of aggression early on from Hendricks really paid off for USA. Hit that one straight up in the air, danced down the wicket for that. I got under it a little bit too much, didn't get all of it. Put it right into Corey Anderson's hands, who leaned back to cushion it from the difficult steep angle. Took a great catch there. Now, that started a trend for the rest of the game. USA's catching was really good.
Oh, it was. We knew what we had to do in that regard. The field was going to be, that's where a lot of our games are going to be won and lost, right? I think
Yeah,
that we can bowl well, we can bat well, but our fielding is going to keep us in games. And
yeah,
we did, to our credit, we didn't let anything go. We didn't make it easy.
right,
And that catch was that perfect example. It's gone straight up, yes, but that's into the wind. The ball's swirling around. Corey's got to do a lot of work, just making sure you're underneath it. There's a lot of times where you'll see guys at cover when it's windy be under it, and then a second later they have to take it way out to the right or way out to the left
right.
or behind them or have to really get forward. He did
Yeah,
a really good job of getting himself underneath it, judging it well. But we just weren't able to carry that momentum forward. And I thought that giving Jesse Singh the ball in that fourth over wasn't. I texted you. I said this is weird. I didn't love the decision because they liked the length. They liked how short Ali Khan was bowling. And it
yeah,
felt like Jesse was going to bowl that length because that's what he's been bowling all tournament. He's been bowling a real hard length and finding success. And straight away, they used the wind, they used their feet, and it was just. I think that was the over that got South Africa going. I think you take that over out.
yeah,
I'm not saying anyone else is going to come in and light that over and be much better, but
sure.
I just felt the length that Jesse Singh has been bowling all tournament fit right to what South Africa was ready to do.
Yeah, I don't want to pick on Jesse, but he got picked on by South
Sure.
Africa that over. He conceded 28, 13 on one ball due to the no ball. That was basically a maximum no ball, a six no ball six. And that's just about as bad as it gets to the wrong guy. You get the cock in there,
Yeah.
you give him a no ball, he's going to freaking demolish it. The over ended on a dot ball, which seemed like a completely unthinkable thing at the time after 5 balls just going for 28. You don't know what's going to happen there. Is it going to be another dot ball and then we get two sixes again and then we have the unthinkable 41 run over, but you could have had that there. That you didn't know based on the previous balls. It was a nightmare over to be honest. And you feel for Jesse. But that no ball, this is something Jesse struggled with. He didn't have one in his first two World Cup games, but he had one in the third game. He had one today. Jesse Singh plus no ball technology is not a good combination. In the World Cup, they're not missing no balls in the World Cup. They're not going to miss them. Maybe in minor league cricket, they're gonna miss one here and there. Other tournaments where you don't have no ball reviews all the time, they're gonna miss one. So but that third umpire is going to be right on that ball. They're looking for that no ball, and Jesse is definitely a target for that. I was a little shocked, especially seeing the way the wicket played today. I was a little bit surprised Shadley didn't play in this game. I think he's
Yeah.
better at hitting that fuller length, which was a good length to hit today, the fuller length deliveries. And Jesse, as you said, just too short for that wicket, too short for these batters on this wicket and they were desperate for runs. They were hungry for runs after
Oh
a
yeah.
difficult group stage playing on difficult wickets and just never really getting off to a flyer in the group stage. But after that, so we were at 45 for one after four overs. And after a 28 run over, 45 for one after four doesn't sound absolutely awful. It could have been worse, in other words. Then we had a good over from Nosh, who it was good in comparison to the over before. 11 runs from Nosh in the power play is expensive for Nosh, but that was due to,
Yeah.
yeah, the two fours at the end.
Yeah, and I think that Nosh over gets deflated because there isn't any scoreboard pressure. Right. I
Yeah,
think if you would have had a quiet over, even 10 runs from the fourth over,
yeah,
they have to look at Nosh very differently, right? You might have to try to take him on a little bit more into the wind.
right.
There's a lot of that because you save Nosh for that fifth over because it'd be to the wind to the leg side of Quinton de Kock, right?
Yeah.
Versus into the wind when he was batting with Jesse Singh. So there's a little bit more of that on in play. And I think that because they had just gotten that huge 28 run over, it's now like, okay, just, single here, single there. No need to really force it. Wait for him to get a little short, and Markram did. And I think it took the bite out of Nosh's over, out of Harmeet's over. I didn't think there was any pressure for them to take on the spinners because even if they were to just clip singles, they were going to still have that run rate of 10 and still be in a position to get to 200. So they would feel comfortable with the batting lineup they had to cut.
Yeah, and the fourth over started with Marker on strike. Do you think Nosh should have bowled that fourth over instead of Jesse? If you look back at the last 10 games of USA cricket, if you look back to the 7 games leading up to the World Cup, Jesse Singh bowled the fifth over in every game that he played. He bowled the fifth over. That was his first over. This was the fourth. And as you said, you felt like it was a little bit too early. If you're bowling that fifth, there's another chance you might have another wicket coming into his over, which makes going after those shorter balls a little bit more. It asks a question a little bit more. Than there was really no pressure right there at that point in the fourth over. Batters didn't feel any reason to not go after him, and they clearly were targeting both of them. Both of the batters were clearly targeting Jesse Singh. What do you think? Do you think Nosh should have bowled that fourth, or who should have bowled that fourth?
I don't know if Nash should have bowled that fourth, only because when you look at that over, you're just trying to save him from the wind blowing into Quinn de Kock's arc,
Yeah,
right? Even with
gotcha.
Markram on strike, he just has to tap it for one down. So you would assume point would be there because the wind's blowing in that
Right.
direction.
And now you got
And
QTK.
now you have QDK, and now Nosh has to be perfect, right? I
Yeah,
feel like he would have scored 28 runs off Nosh if Nosh wasn't perfect. And Nosh can bowl in the power play, but now you bring it up with QDK, the wind blowing with him, two fielders outside. He can really get inventive. We've seen it on full display in Major League Cricket. So I think Nosh would have been a real risky option. Could it have worked? Absolutely. But I can
sure,
absolutely understand Aaron Jones not wanting to go to him
sure,
because of that wind. You want to give him one more over so he can bowl with the wind going into QDK.
sure.
Do I think Jesse should have bowled? No. I think the length was just wrong. Now, do we have it? I felt Corey might have been a better option, to be honest. I thought
What about Ali
Corey
right
would have
there?
pitched. Sorry?
What about Ali right there? He had,
Ali could have come back.
yeah,
I think Ali might have just been a touch too short early, but I think if Ali, you sit there, and Ali had his hat off. I think Ali expected to bowl, and you saw quickly they changed it. And I don't mind Ali coming back in to bowl that over. I also wouldn't have mind Corey coming in to bowl that over, just because, again, a lefty changing that angle, he probably would have come around the wicket and would have pitched it up. Right, we saw Corey go pitch it up, try to go wide Yorker, and maybe could have been an interesting question to ask a little earlier when there was a little bit of scoreboard pressure. So I think that Ali would have been probably my option just because he had bowled it. I think he understood what the wicket needed. But I think Corey could have been a real option just to get his one over in there, save Jesse for later on in the innings when he has a little bit more protection.
yeah. And then the sixth over came around, and Ali Khan did get back in the attack, starting off with a dot, a single, a dot, a wide, a dot, and then a six on that slower, shorter ball to Quinton de Kock,
Yeah.
which de Kock picked immediately and just completely annihilated that ball with acres to spare. And then Ali on the last ball, a nice little dot ball there. 8 runs on the over. You're giving up a six in the power play on the last over of the power play, and you only go for eight, and one of them's a wide. That's a heck of an over from Ali Khan. Just
No. Yeah.
missing one time. Bad idea one time. That's it. I don't even think he missed necessarily. I think that he just tried something new to try to get a wicket there, and you got cranked. And you can get away with that for 8 runs for the over.
Yeah, no, again, Ali Boulder brilliant 6 over, and so that's why I wouldn't have mind going back to Ali Khan because he showed it a couple overs later. But I think our legs were just off, really,
Right,
with Jesse and Ali to start the innings off. It was just we try to go into the surface, into the deck, and it just didn't work for us. The ball was coming on nicely, wind on
right,
offer. You're gonna have to deal with that, and I just felt that the legs were just off, and I think Ali responded really nicely.
right,
But again, it just once that 28 run over hits, you just lose all that scoreboard pressure. And
right,
now
right.
Harmeet and Nosh are bowling, and they were bowling well for that period, right? They're not giving
Sure.
up many boundaries. Maybe the odd boundary, Steven gave up 12, or excuse me, gave up 14 in the over after giving up a 6 and a 4. But you
Right,
saw them just ticking away, and they had the odd boundary. But because that start, you're just able to tick away, and before you know it, it's 93 for one at the end of nine. And you mentioned
yeah,
in 10 overs, it was 101 for one. And they're just behind the one boundary and over. They weren't going
right,
crazy. And then they hit Corey for a lot of runs when he came into bowl. There was just a lot of pressure on someone to deliver. And I felt like it was almost you have to take a wicket. There's no more about this
sure.
giving up singles. It's have to take a wicket and you try to over invent. And that's when you just start to leak runs.
And in between, we saw Harmeet bowl four on the trot there, and in
Yeah.
between his overs, you had Stephen Taylor and Corey Anderson, basically part-time bowlers on this team. They got whacked pretty good by South Africa, which kind of goes to show they were going to attack the part-timers. They were going to attack the third seamer on the team. They were pretty much only really respecting Sorab and Harmeet. Now, Harmeet is difficult to both lefties and righties because of the way he uses the crease so well,
Mm-hmm.
his bowling crease so well. Of course, he did get a no ball using it maybe a little too much there. But yes, we saw some we saw some big overs against Corey Anderson going for 17 in one of those overs. We saw Stephen Taylor going for 14 runs in one over in the eighth over. So in between these very economical overs from Harmeet, which we absolutely needed to counterbalance the part-timers getting whacked really well. But Harmeet ended up staying in the attack there for the 13th over, actually right after Corey went for 17. Harmeet stayed in for his final over, the 13th over. And after 12, South Africa were 125 for one still. This was looking really bad right now at this point for South Africa. We had one over left of Harmeet Singh. And I remember thinking, oh man, Harmeet's got one left. Nosh is going to have to turn it on a little bit, I was thinking. Bowling from the same end, probably. But Harmeet came up with two incredibly clutch wickets there in the 13th over. Basically a full toss, almost a gift to Quentin de Kock. But
It wasn't almost it was a full toss that was there to hit. He saw QDK's like just smiling afterwards because he
yeah,
just couldn't believe he anywhere a little left or right probably is going to go for six,
yeah,
but he just
yeah.
happened to pick out Cheyenne, who took a great catch. And he had to move a little bit to his right, tightrope the boundary well.
Great catch.
Um,
Tremendous catch.
Great catch, tremendous catch, but absolutely a full toss. And
Yeah,
QDK a little smile as his Orca teammate got him out. But the next ball, that was vintage Harmeet Singh, right? And I thought
yeah,
that was what I wanted more of. And I know you're
yeah.
scared bowling to the left-handers because into the wind with the
Two
spin,
straight lefties right
but
there. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But I thought what he did gave it a little bit more flight, let the ball grip and bounce a little bit. And
Hmm.
just as David Miller tries to close the face of it, it just came straight back. Really good take. And he was off. And I really thought that was an opportunity to get maybe, I know Heinrich Klaassen's in the game, but continue to bowl Nosh and
Right.
show that you can be a little bit loopier. You can flight it up a little bit more because
True.
there's something in the wicket
Yeah,
that you can take advantage of as a spinner that you couldn't do
absolutely.
as a pacer. Right? You
Yeah.
played the extra spinner. I thought you could be a little bit more aggressive now as a spin bowler. Flight it up, let the ball turn, dare the batters to come down the ground and hit you over the top into the wind. But again, I just felt that once we had that momentum, I didn't think we went on the attack mode. I think we said, all right, we've survived the storm. Let's just try to keep things down. And we restricted well from there. But
Yeah.
I just felt that we were a touch defensive when, again, my whole attitude about this is we're in the Super Eights. We have
Yeah.
nothing to lose. And I know it's not me playing. You're not trying to get embarrassed. But I think there's an opportunity one or two times in each innings to be a little bit more aggressive than you were. And I just felt that right then, that next over of Nosh could have been a little bit more aggressive. I thought Nosh was, you could see flat, just trying to keep it away from Clausen, when I thought he could have just opened it up a little bit and dare him to hit the ball with it turning away from
Now, when you do that with Clausen, you have to hit your length just right.
100%.
He's a monster. The 13th over ended there with Harmeet Singh getting to those two wickets. It went for 2 runs after the 12th over went for 17. So we had a little bit of balance right there. And then, like you said, the very next over, Nosh comes in, gives up 6, which is good. But as you
Very great over.
great over. But also I think this shows the maturity of South Africa because I think that
Sure.
at this point they're like, okay, look, we've got a good run rate going. After 13 overs, we're 127 for 3. We can take a foot off the gas a little bit here just to conserve this wicket because we want Clausen in the middle to the at the end of the game. So I think that was smart for them to just rotate strike, get their eye in, let them see the wicket and trust Clausen's finishing ability here, and even Markram's. Even though Markram's I was in finishing the 14th with 40 runs from 28 balls for him. But yeah, that 6 run over was a neutral thing. It wasn't really a win by either team. I feel like I think as you say, it would have been nice to attack them a little bit to make them not recover because they were obviously reorganizing themselves for a final push there. So maybe you need to push them out of their comfort zone by making them go for it. And we didn't really do that, or USA didn't really do that. 15th over, Saurabh comes in, slower delivery. Markram does a great job waiting on that one, dispatching it behind point for 4 runs. Really nice patience from Markram. As I said, his eye was in. He was set to score, I think. Then there were 4 consecutive singles. And then on the final ball of that over, oh, we've got Saurabh bowling his third over of the game. And man, great delivery from Saurabh. This is something he's done so well this World Cup. He bowls the fuller ball wider. Markram slices at it right to deep point. Ali Khan, right to the feet of Ali Khan, basically. Ali Khan comes running in, dives, makes sure that his elbow doesn't jar the ball free, but by stretching his arm out a little bit more so that he hits the ground a little more flat instead of right on the elbow. Takes a textbook front facing diving catch for the wicket there. And right now, to me, at this point, at the end of 15 overs, South Africa 141 for 4. At this point, it's almost like the Schrodinger's cat situation. Like you can have anything happen right now. USA could take another wicket right now and take the game back. At the same time, Klaasen's still in there, and Klaasen can take the game away from you. And so anything could happen at this time. I think this was a really pivotal point of the innings where USA could take the game away. South Africa could recover and take the game away. Anything could happen, and this is why you watch. You want to see moments like this. You want to see this kind of a pressure on both teams. I think at this particular point, I remember thinking, this is a great game. We're in for a great game right here. They recovered in those 5 overs. They recovered from looking like they might give up 220 runs to looking like they might actually get out of the innings less than 180.
Yeah, it was terrific. And again, with that Nosh over, only giving up 6 runs, you build a little bit of pressure. And again, I thought that Saurabh over was a real testament of the experience of Saurabh Netravalkar. If you saw after that first 4, the first thing he didn't complain. He just said, "Hey, send point out deep, bring in square leg, and send point out. I'm getting everything to move across from him, and I'm going
Yeah,
to set him up
that's right.
with a wide Yorker, and he's going
Yep,
to slice it into the wind." He
exactly what
said, "Just
happened.
go out there."
Yep.
Because what the idea would have been, oh, let's protect the boundary where
Yeah,
the wind
you're
is
right.
blowing to,
Because
right?
that's where
That's
they
the
hit the
idea.
four. That's where they hit the
It,
four on the first
they,
ball.
they they hit it over point, right? They
Yep.
they hit it through point because the fielder was in the deep on that square leg because
So you're
that's where the
thinking,
wind is.
so you can think that's a defensive field set, but in reality,
Exactly.
yeah,
And so Saurabh says, no, I'm not going to give you anything to hit there. If he hits there, let him hit there. But I'm going to point out, bring in square leg, and let him hit into the wind. That's fine with me. And that was brilliant from Saurabh Netravalkar. He saw the moment, he seized it, learned from his mistake, and he got a wicket 5 balls later. And that's what we've seen from Saurabh for so long.
yeah,
And again, at that moment, you're like, okay, you can really ramp things up. Barkram's gone. He was hitting well. And then I saw Tristan Subs. I was like, man, Tristan Subs is incredible. But if you can get him out early, he could just be. You can just clamp him up a little bit. You can just make a mistake, try to do something a little too fancy. But again, I just felt we weren't aggressive enough or attacking enough after that. Flat through the air, trying to get through Stubbs quickly, and I just don't think this was the surface that anything was going to rush on. It was going to
right.
offer you a little grip and a little turn if you just gave it some air. And I just
Right.
felt Nosh could have given it a little bit more air, and he gave one ball all air, and Clausen hits it over. I think Nitish Kumar for six, and Nitish got a hand to it. But I'll live with that kind of result. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
you were aggressive, and Markham and Clausen just played the Clausen shot.
The, the problem with that was it went too short. And honestly, if you look at that delivery and you look at put any other batter there, it's maybe not too short to
Yeah,
85% of batters. But to Clausen, that is definitely too short. He
he
cleared
stands
the
so
leg.
deep in that crease.
Oh, he cleared the leg, leaned back, flat batted that all over long off over the outstretched fingers of the fielder. Like you said, I think it was Nitesh. I think it was Nitesh out there, right off of maybe one of his fingers. If he got anything on, the fact that he got anything on it was incredible, really,
Yeah,
because that ball was going to the boundary quick. But that was a vintage Clausen creating a back foot shot. It was just beautiful. And it was just too, if you're going to bowl to Clausen, if you're going to flight it, you cannot be short. You just can't be short, I think. And he's just too good at handling that ball, at waiting on it and handling it and finding a way to who scores a six to long off the way that he did on that shot. It's ridiculous. It's just it's
yeah.
ridiculous. It's
It's silly. It's you see it like, and he does it. It's not like he can only do it to Nosh Kenjige. He'll do it to
no,
Rashid Khan. He'll do
yeah.
it to any spinner in the world. Doesn't he'll do it to Akil Hussain. It doesn't matter.
Right.
He's if he gets himself into that spot, I reckon it's going for six every time. And when we don't take and when again when you weren't aggressive there, Jesse came the next over with the good over 8 runs from it. But you just as you mentioned, South Africa is so smart. You have two guys who can just sit there and bat. They know there's runs on the board. So they take the 8 run over, then they get 12 runs from the next, and you just see him keep clinching. And then Saurabh comes in with a brilliant 6 run over. And then Ali again just faces a little bit of
Yeah.
misfortune rather,
Yeah.
with the Stubbs. Stubbs just played a really fantastic shot. And they scored 15 off the last. But like you
Yeah.
mentioned, it was a good fight back and a good batting performance from South Africa. So at this point in the game, you're thinking, yeah, it's going to take a really good batting performance, but I don't think we're out of this game. And so I thought the
No.
bowling in that last half, while it was maybe a touch defensive, gave
Yeah.
us an opportunity to be in the game in the second innings.
Yeah. I think that short ball in the third ball that Ali Khan bowled to Klaassen that went for six in the last over, the
Sure.
short ball wasn't doing it. And you're giving a
Yeah.
short ball to a guy like Klaassen who's been in now for what, 7 overs, 6, 7 overs. I think that made it so that his Yorker became predictable. He had to now bowl fuller. He absolutely had to. And I think it's an interesting thing. If you bowl that Yorker consistently early in the over, it keeps a lot of things open. It puts a question in the batter's mind. Oh, is he going to stay with this Yorker length? Is he going to keep bowling the wide Yorker or the Yorker right at my feet? Or is he going to go, is he going to try to pop one on me and surprise me with a shorter ball or a slower? And it keeps all that stuff in your mind because, yes, if you miss the Yorker, you can get picked up for 6 or 4 pretty easily. But you got to be ready. You got to be thinking about that as the batter. You got to be thinking, okay, maybe he'll miss this Yorker. I'm ready. He's going to, and then it's a you miss, I hit type of situation. But when you back yourself in a corner with a short ball that goes for six earlier in the over like that, I think that you make it so now you have to bowl the Yorker. And it takes the question out of the batter's mind. That's just the sense that I got was on that last ball to Stubbs. Stubbs knew that ball was coming. And he had already tried that ball earlier and it didn't work out as well. It went for two off of, I think, Corey. I think it was Corey who was bowling. It went for two, might have been Corey. But anyways, it went for two. He tried to do that same ramp shot, and the bowler put it short, and it just flubbed up in the air. And he's lucky that he got it dead behind the keeper instead of either way. It would have either direction, 5 yards would have been a catch, easy catch. But I think Stubbs knew, everybody knew that ball was coming. Stubbs was looking for that shot the whole time, and I think Ali just backed himself in a corner by bowling a short ball or too early in the over, if you ask me. But Ali Khan is the pro. I'm just a guy sitting in front of my wedding china,
Yeah.
you know.
That's all of us, right? Again, I think there's plenty of things you can critique and say, and obviously I've been pretty vocal about. I thought we could have been a little bit more aggressive, but at the end of the day, they've done well to get it to 194, and now you just need your bats to. I didn't
Yeah.
think 194 was crazy impossible. I thought
Yeah.
200 would have really kicked us, but 194, I thought we'd have a chance. We just
Yeah.
needed a couple boundaries, and if we get to a good start, not lose too many wickets, things would go well. And we did it early. First of all, It was how good was it to see Steven Taylor get that ball to the offside?
Oh my
Just I've been
God.
waiting for that all tournament, and it was just awesome.
I think Steven, I was texting in the Discord group. I said, is this going to be the Steven Taylor innings that we've been waiting for? Because we know it's in there. We know it's in there. Maybe it's going to come out next game. It almost came out this game. It almost came out this innings. But Steven gave us a good start. Of course, we ended the first over with 5 runs. Okay, easing into the game. But then Taylor with a 4 and a 6 in the second, taking us to 13 runs for that
Taking
over.
on Aiden Markram too,
Yeah,
taking the off spinner on, not letting him settle in. He
exactly.
saw that I thought the first one great slog sweep, really bad ball. The second one that was a tremendous cricketing shot.
Yeah.
Understand that the fielder was straighter, so just had to get himself on underneath conventional sweep and played it square. Phenomenal cricket. I thought that from Steven Taylor.
Absolutely. And then at the end of three against Janssen here, Taylor scores another four, another two fours. And so Taylor's taking the responsibility early. He's
Yeah.
taking the lead, taking the bull by the horns. He's got 24 of their 28 in the first 3 overs. USA are looking like they're gonna fight. And we knew they were gonna fight. It's
Mhm.
just I think the attitude of this team, the batting attitude of this team is so good. It's so positive for most of the
Yeah.
team. For the vast
Yep.
majority of the team, it's positive. And I think that's why you can afford, and it's funny saying this about a guy with about a 150 strike rate for the tournament. I think that's why you can afford to have like an Aaron Jones in the team because the
For
rest
sure.
of the team has such a positive scoring mentality. And we saw that late in the innings. You do need to take about 6, 7 wickets against USA to make sure that that USA is not going to keep coming
Go
at,
away.
not going to put you down because they're going to the guys who do start slow. They're once they get going, eh, they're nasty. And yeah, Steven Taylor starting quick. We need that. We need those quick starts from Steven Taylor to take the pressure off of Andres here, and of course the rest of the top and middle over. Of course, he then gets out to Rabada there. That was a difficult ball. That was just a difficult length of that ball.
Yeah. Little extra bounce. I thought it rushed him a little bit. You could see the idea. He was trying to go straight, almost. If you remember the 2021 series against Ireland, what Gous and Singh did, what Virat Kohli did against Pakistan against Haris Rauf, that similar type of on the back foot looking to go straight down the ground, just high off the bat face. And that was an unfortunate wicket there. I thought, again, we talked about momentum and talked about how we had really good moments. And you just thought if we could carry those moments a little bit longer, this game is totally different.
Right.
That over started with Andries going with the on drive against
Yeah.
Rabada, right? Just straight back, classic,
Great shot.
beautiful four. And you're thinking, okay, find a couple more runs. I don't need to go crazy. Just keep the runs flowing, keep wickets in hand. And that wicket, I just thought stemmed it a little bit. I just felt that if Steven could have stuck in, he was going to find balls he could hit, right?
Yeah.
I thought he could have opened again. That's just a tough ball. You're in a mind that you can go and play it. That shot down the ground that he loves, and it bounces a little bit more, rushes you, hits the top of the bat face, and it's unfortunate. But I think I think there were moments of that because Nitish Kumar comes in and he plays a couple of brilliant shots. That six that he hit, how
Right away.
phenomenal was that? He just picks
Yeah.
up Janssen, goes up and over, and you're like, okay, this is what Nitish Kumar can do. He's promoted. Him and Andres can really take control of this game now. And then with Rabada, the same thing, down the leg side and into the wind, just a really check flick and just picked out Tristan Stubbs. And again, it was just that, man, it felt like you were just getting things going. If you could just build
Right.
that partnership, we just needed that one partnership to just stick through because from there, Aaron Jones, Maharaj gets him. And we talked about the spinners and we talked about how I thought we were just a little bit too flat through the air. You saw what Maharaj did. He was getting a lot of turn. It wasn't that the wicket deteriorated. He just
Right.
gave the ball a little bit more flight and allowed the ball to spin and dip and you get the turn and Aaron goes. And now you're really in a spot of bother. And I thought that was the difference. I just felt that we didn't have the partnerships when we needed to. I thought we had a couple of good cameos. We just needed that one partnership to really last us.
Yeah, that end of the power play USA was 53 for 2, and I'm thinking, oh, I really would love to be 53 for 1 right now. I would feel
Yeah.
really good about that. But 53 for 2 kind of put us, I think, behind the 8 ball a little bit. And then at the end of the seventh over, we're 57 for 3. Aaron Jones is out of there. And at this point, after 7 overs, you got to start thinking, oh, geez, is this where we fall to pieces? Is this where we unravel? It's got to be in your mind a little bit because
Yeah.
that is
No.
while we held them to 190 94, I think, in the first innings, that was a great recovery from what looked like 220 runs at one point or close to it. We held them there. 60 for three is a long way to go to 190 94, and anything can happen. This is another one of those moments where it's like, yeah, South Africa's way out in front right now. We got to recollect ourselves. The USA has to recollect, has to maybe slow down the rate a little bit, which you don't want to do because you're going to have to catch up at the end, but it's better than losing your wickets now. And as long as we have that right attitude, we talked about that positive attitude, we talked about when it matters, we can make this up. We saw it with Bangladesh. We saw a
Yeah.
similar innings against Bangladesh where we had a little collapse there and then recovery, slow recovery, and then the last five overs, Harmeet Singh, Corey Anderson going absolutely bonkers. This is what I'm thinking in my mind about this game. I'm thinking, okay, they got to do the Bangladesh approach. They have to recover here, go slow and steady, not lose a whole lot of wickets, which they actually did in that Bangladesh game. But we know that if they have the right people in the middle after that 15th over, it's anyone's game.
Yeah, no, 100%. Again, you saw Corey and Andries do that in the next couple overs after the Nitish Kumar wicket. Just single here, single there. And again, needed just to take it deep. Corey gets Norkid through mid wicket, next ball out. And again, it was just the starts. We felt like you were getting starts. You felt like you were getting
Yeah,
yourself into the game, and you couldn't really capitalize. And Shine had a real, Shine Jahangir comes in and he's had a real tough World Cup, undone by an unbelievable ball from Arshdeep Singh. And then here just couldn't really find any rhythm against the spinner. And three reds once Shamsi comes in and gets him struck on the pad. And from there, it's like, man, this is where you would love to have one more wicket, right? Or one more bat. Because now it's Harmeet and now you don't have it, right? It's Jesse Singh, it's Nash Kenchige that you can throw out there. The feeling that maybe a Shadley Van Skulkvik would have been so big in this situation just to give you one extra bat if it really comes down to it. And it ended up coming down to it because you saw Andres Kels and Harmeet Singh had that little Seattle Thunderbolts of minor league cricket revolution almost, and they wouldn't go down quietly. They kept things going. They built a partnership, and they just found that odd boundary. And just it wasn't like they were getting the 15 they needed, but they would get 10, they'd get 12. They would, maybe had a full run over here or there, but they would find ways to get to 19 if they needed to.
right.
And then the 16th get 13, and you're batting, and now you're going to the 19th over, and you're saying, "Holy smokes, it's 167 for five." You require 14. You need 28 from 12. We've been here before. It's
Yeah,
not unimaginable that you get this done.
not at all.
And Harmeet Singh on that first ball, you thought he got it. You thought he got a six to make it 22 from 11, and it's a whole nother ball game. But instead, it just went straight to Tristan Stubbs. It just found Tristan Stubbs, and that was really the turning point in that game. If that goes for six, me and you were talking about a USA win over South Africa and how we might be able to sneak our way into a semifinal.
We very well could be talking about that now. Obviously, Harmeet with the courage to go into that innings and partner up with Andres Host, who was on top of everything. Both of the two of them were unbelievable, taking the team on from the second ball of the 12th over, 76 runs for five wickets, all the way to 167 runs for six wickets on the first ball of the 19th over. That is an incredible partnership. That is a great run. In just the span of eight overs there, or just the span of actually seven overs there, we went from 76 to 167 without a loss of a wicket. That was just the acceleration of these two wonderful, brave, and talented batters.
Yeah.
With the 18th over going for 22 runs. Absolutely beautiful stuff. Just before that 19th over, they pulled themselves into the game going from 145 for five after 17 to 167 for five. And we were in a situation now where we didn't have a whole lot of runs left to win. We needed 28 runs from the last 12 balls, completely doable off of 12 balls. You're
Yeah.
talking about you need 14 runs and over here. This was about the equation of the Pakistan game, I believe.
Yeah, it was. It was very similar. And so it's just a six here, a boundary there, and the whole game just looks different. And
Yeah.
again, it's that first ball just changes it because Harmeet goes, Jesse comes in, and it's just not the same game. It's
Yeah.
just it's not the same. It's not Harmeet Singh on strike who's timing it well, who is your seasoned hitter, and then you have two dot balls to follow. Not any fault of Jesse Singh, just what can you do? You come in and play Rabada straight up,
Yeah.
and you need runs. You need a lot of them,
Yeah.
and you get a 2-run over.
Yeah.
That kills you. You need 26 from six. And when Andres gets that single off the first ball, you knew the game was over from that point.
Yeah, it was tricky. I felt like you needed at that point, you got the job is this: face one ball and over, maybe get
Yeah,
Andres on strike, find a way to score a single. And Jesse's good at tonking it down the ground or getting out. That's what Jesse's good at. I think
yeah.
I think in this particular situation, I might want Noshin at
I
this
was thinking
point.
the same. Yeah,
I think the thinking was if he gets stuck in the crease, at least he can hit sixes. But I think that people underestimate the ability of Nosh to steer fours around behind square, to steer them around using ramps. And we've seen him do the bouncer ramp, the old Sachin Tendulkar. We've seen him
yeah.
do that. And I think when you see a guy like him coming in, I think you're going to be tempted to bowl that shorter ball just to keep him from getting the single because he's not a very big guy. I think maybe the thinking is obviously Jesse's bigger than him, so maybe he has a bigger range to score a single off of, right? Whereas if you get Nosh in there, you can get him a short ball and then it's probably boundary or nothing. It's hard to get a single off of a shorter ball sometimes, but I do think Nosh's ability to play those ramps, the unorthodox shots that we've seen so much in minor league, and more importantly his ability to run between the wickets at this point might have presented a better chance for them to score a single. Now, at this point, though, you're down 6 wickets. I think both of us agree that if Shadley's in the game, he's coming in here. And he's absolutely coming in here if he's in the game. And it's tricky, regardless of who you put in the situation. You need a whole lot of runs. You just
Yeah.
lost your in-form batter who's tremendous at finishing. And USA's almost looks, they're almost, if it makes sense, they have a long tail until they don't. All of a sudden they don't. It's like like Harmeet batting at the position he bats at. He could bat anywhere from 1 through 9.
It's what it feels like.
He's just yeah,
Yeah, like you mentioned, it's a long tail until they don't. It's the fact that you really boil it down. Harmeet can bat. Nosh can, like you mentioned, steer some runs. If Shadley's in the team, he's good. He's a real bad in domestic cricket. There's a real opportunity to extend that lineup to where you're only two non-recognized batters or guys you feel like probably aren't going to score us any runs
right.
are Saurabh and Ali Khan, right? And that's a really good spot to be. Not many international sides can say, yeah, we bat eight deep. You think about the sides that can, it's really Australia and England. Beyond that, who can say that they bat eight deep? That's not a real thing. There's an opportunity here to do something, and I think you have to do something going into the West Indies match, right? It's going to be
Yeah.
in Barbados. You're playing in the West Indies. Home crowd's going to be bonkers, and I like the batting lineup the way it is. To be honest, I like Andres coming in open. I like Tish at the one down spot. I think it's a more natural role for him, and he plays it well. For me, I think I make a change. I make two changes with this team. I think Shadley comes in for Jesse. I still think Shadley again extends that lineup. I don't think you lose a lot with the ball with Shadley Van Skalkovic, maybe a little bit of pace, but I think he is so good in T20 cricket like Saurabh, where you can live with it. The other change I make, and I say this kind of with like a heavy heart because we were big proponents of Shan Jahangir being in this team, being in the 15. When he was in originally, it was mind-boggling that just to put him in the reserve because he was our best ODI batter of 2023, arguably. Right? Him and Gudgeon and Singh would have been two. I think Shea is a little bit out of place. I don't think he's in the greatest of nick right now. And I think that you have one game really to keep yourself in this World Cup. And I think in the spot that he's going to bat in, you have to be able to play spin. And you're going to play against Akil Hussain and Moti. And for me, Milind Kumar makes a lot of sense there. He
Yeah.
plays spin beautifully, uses the feet, phenomenal in the field, can give you an over two of off spin if you really come down to needing it. I think, again, I hate to pull Father Shea from the 11, but I think my two changes, I think Shadley comes in for Jesse and I think Millen gives you the best opportunity to get some runs in that middle period.
Yeah, I think because they're batting Shea where they are, you have to think about that. And
Yeah.
earlier I think I had mentioned at some point I wondered if Sana is listening or watching our pods anymore. This is an interesting way to find out.
Yeah.
This would be
Yeah.
Father Shay's wife. But yeah, I think unfortunately for Cheyenne is he fell out of form. He didn't play. He played what one time in that whole. He didn't play in the Canada series. He played it one time in the Bangla series, and we both thought that was crazy because of how good he
Yeah.
had been in 2023, how good he was with New York, MI New York. He opened for them, and for the ODI side, he bats in this position. He bats a little. He bats what 6, 7, something like that, six.
Yeah.
But I think you have to ask that question now. Now he made that great catch at the boundary, which required
Phenomenal.
lot of
He made some
nimble.
great plays in the field, to be honest
He
with you.
did,
That catch at
yeah,
backward point, he
yeah,
was really just flying around. Like, this is not a knock on Cheyenne as a cricketer because I think
yeah,
at his best, there's not a doubt in our minds that he is in this 11. But
yeah,
because, like you mentioned, didn't play in the Canada series, didn't or played only one game against Bangladesh, they didn't try to keep him in rhythm.
right,
And you don't play a lot of cricket. You're not going to bat early in the World Cup because Monank is the captain
yeah,
and Andries is going to play, and Nitish kind of sealed his spot. So you know you're not getting as many reps as maybe those guys are. So you're not
right,
able to find form, and then you finally get to play, and you're playing on the toughest wicket in the tournament, and you play one ball, and then here it's not like you can spend time in the middle trying to get acclimated. You have to come in and hit the ball. And I'm
yeah.
not saying Milind Kumar is going to come in here and score a 25 ball half century. I
Yeah,
just think that Milind might just give you a better option playing spin because that's just his natural game, right? He
yeah.
led the Ranji Trophy in runs a couple of years ago before he came to the USA, a year before he came to the USA. So it just feels like you might want to make a change in the batting order. Shea's not a good nick at the moment. Try Milind Kumar, see what he brings.
You're going to Kensington Oval in Barbados for this next
Yeah.
game. So you're going to see some spin. You're going to see spin. You're going to see Akil Hussain, who is an X factor big time, especially
Yep.
considering the fact that he bowls well to both lefties and righties, and USA has that lefty righty strength in their batting order, which is it's a massive strength for them. It makes teams question when they're going to bowl their spinners. And that's what you want to do. You want to mess up that whole middle overs with your batting order like that. USA does a good job of that. So you don't get the Harmeet Singhs bowling four on the trot and things like that. Now, when you get to this level of cricket, it doesn't matter nearly as much as it does against maybe a Canada who's a very good team or Nepal or somebody that's an associate member. It doesn't matter quite as much, but it still makes a difference. But Akil Hussain is almost immune to that because of that great drifting arm ball that he bowls, which is super effective in the Caribbean. He bowls extremely well in the Caribbean. He's been made a star name for himself through the CPL. He's just a great T20 cricketer. I think he's going to be the X factor for that West Indies bowling attack.
Yeah.
And for the batting side, it's freaking every pick. Take your freaking pick. Like every one of these,
Yeah.
it's like Sherfane Rutherford, man. His innings it was absolutely phenomenal. Probably one of the best three innings of the entire tournament so far. That team, they deserve to lose that game, except for him. And win these.
Yeah. Yeah.
They've been so good otherwise.
No, it's they're a phenomenal team. I've already been catching some flack from. I'm in Barbados right now, and for everyone who doesn't know, and we drive to the stadium every day, get a little bit of work in, and our driver when we got off the plane, right? Our driver obviously a local from Barbados, and I don't know how it got brought up. I think we were just talking about Super Eights or something, and they're talking about West Indies. And I said, I can't wait for our game. He's like, well, are you Indian? I said, no, I'm American. He said, you're American. He's been talking so much crap to me ever since then. Like yesterday on the bus, he was talking about Nicholas Puran and how just hit 98 runs, and you can't argue with it. So it's gonna be a big game. And again, we're talking about all this like make the semifinal. We have to put this in perspective. This is a great place to be for the USA. No one would have thought that 6 months ago, if someone would have time traveled 6 months ago to a big innings recording and said, "Hey, Aaman and Nate, the USA are going to be in the Super Eights of a World Cup. You're crazy. Get out of here. We don't even know who the head coach or what the team is going to look
They
like.
haven't played a
Haven't played a
game.
single. Yeah, and now we're here. So it shows you we have great talent. Stuart Law is the guy that we need to keep, and I hope we can keep him for a long time because he's giving everybody a role and letting them shine. This is a phenomenal group, and we've had a really good World Cup. If we can get a win against West Indies, however unlikely that is, we keep ourselves in it. If we lose, it's a great World Cup campaign either way. And I think that's the mindset you go in as a team is like, there's nothing to lose. If we lose, whatever. We weren't supposed to be here anyway. But if we win, now England's got a little bit of something to worry about. Now the West Indies are thinking, oh boy, what if we don't qualify? What if we're not the host who get to the semifinal? There's some big questions. So this is a real opportunity. Be aggressive, go out there and play cricket where you're not with no regrets. Live with no regrets. And I think if
England,
you do that, you're gonna feel good about yourself.
100%, and I think you'll win one of these games. I really do. I think they'll win one of these two
Hmm.
games. England has to worry about us no matter what. They got to worry about us beating them no matter what happens with them. I think, regardless of what it looks like, the outcome of this whole Super 8s looks like for them going into the game against USA, they got to worry about USA for many reasons. First of all, it's a good team. It's playing really right now, USA is. Second of all, if they put together a perfect game, if they all play well and don't make any mistakes, they can beat England. They can definitely beat England. They beat Pakistan. And thirdly, I'm totally convinced you can get the entire England batting order out, run out at the non-strikers, and just because of their stubbornness, and I'd love to see
Let's
it
hope Andrew
happen.
Leonard is listening to this.
Andrew Andrew Leonard will not be my friend anymore if he hears this. But no, seriously, I'm serious though. They're so stubborn and so entitled. I believe you can get the entire batting order out by Mankade just out of principle, and
Just
they'll probably protest the result. I want to see that. Who's gonna do it? Who's gonna Mankade them? Who's the most likely? Should we even talk about this? We got to talk about this. Who's gonna Mankade England?
I don't know. I don't know if anyone's going to man getting that, to be honest. I don't think Starbucks gonna do it. I think Harmeet Bowl's too far from the crease to do it. Um
Harvey won't do it at
too
all.
far from the stuff. Yeah. Look, whether we man kid him or not, I think we have a good chance to beat him. I don't think we have to. And if we do, I'm not gonna have a problem with it. I think my take on the man kid is, do I think it's the best way to win a cricket game? No. But do I think it's a bad way to win a cricket game? No. I think that if you leave your crease, if the other team does it, the other team does it. That's not
Right.
their fault that you left your crease early.
Yeah.
Again, would I sit there and say, yeah, I'm going to do 10 man case? Probably not. But if someone does it, do I have a problem with them? Absolutely not. I think that there's this huge stigma. And like, again, I think maybe because we've seen a lot of baseball and that's a whole, like, the pickoff is a whole big thing where
Do
if
it.
someone leaves the bag too early or is leaning off the bag too early, way too much, you throw it over there. If you can get them out, if they're out, and no one seems to bat an eye about it. Yeah, the run of the non-strikers in. Do I love it? No. Do I hate it? No. If it happens, I'm not going to hate it. I think Ali Khan is a good option for it. I think I think he's fiery enough to where if you make him mad, he'll do it. I think that he pulls close enough to the wickets to reach it versus Harvey Singh who would have to like turn all the way around to
Turn,
do
yeah, I want to see a turnaround Michael Jordan jump shot into the stumps
it.
from Harmeet Singh. That's what I want to see. That's what
Yeah.
it
So
takes. That's
again,
what it takes.
I honestly would think Army would do it, but he's just if he's bowling to right-handers, he's way too far out. Again, do I think we can beat one of these two teams? Absolutely. Do we have to play perfect? Absolutely. But have we played perfect in this tournament? Yeah. So I'm curious to see what we do. Can we what changes we make? I think that's really the interesting question. That the team just left to go to Barbados. They'll get a practice session in, and we'll get to see what they feel. They have two games here, the 21st and the 23rd of June. If we were to win one of those two games, give me the 23rd. That's my birthday. So I'd love a USA win on my birthday. But I'd love a win on both days as well.
Well, look, one more thing before we go. Stuart Law is the luckiest person in the history of USA cricket. He came into the team when it was in absolute shambles, hadn't played a T20I since September of 2022, 18 months. He inherits basically a big question mark in terms of selection. We've heard about all kinds of corruption allegations. It's just a complete mess in USA cricket right now. They're on the brink of being suspended. All of these awful things are happening. Stuart Law inherits this team, and look where they are. I've never heard of a person who is employed by USA Cricket who ends up in a good position after their employment by USA Cricket. But Stuart Law is a good luck charm. Let's keep him around as long as this is working.
Yeah, 100%. Keep Stuart Law around. Let him be the judge, jury, and executioner because the law is working right now. I'm loving what he's doing. I'm loving what this USA team can do. We were just a couple of periods away from winning this game. So we'll see what we can do in this next game, Nate.
Yeah, your puns are getting so good ever since you've been like traveling around as the MC at these games, talking to people. The Stuart Law, judge, jury, and execution are really nice. Good work, man.
I appreciate that, man. I got to bring something back from all the travel I'm doing.
All right, man. Everybody stay tuned for the next game. Hopefully, USA give it to the West Indies. These are two great teams. I love seeing the West Indies on top of things. I love seeing them perform like this. They're an explosive, beautiful T20 team to watch. USA is too. This is the beautiful thing about USA. I think they're a top 10 T20 team in the world right now. I think they're going to prove to be. We know they have depth. We know what the next wave of USA cricketers looks like. Everybody out there listening to this, if you're a U19 player in USA, if you're a U23 player in USA, keep going. Let these guys inspire you. There's a lot of good young players in this country. And a lot of people talk about the age of this team, but I'm telling you, we have we are well poised. We are well set to establish ourselves as a cricketing nation. If you're new to the team, climb aboard. This is not going to be an express train. This is a long haul. Thanks for listening to us, and we'll catch you next time.